Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Lots of stuff to get into tonight. We got the NCAA tournament field. It was announced. West Virginia 3 seed. Pitt's not in it. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about the Penguins, who've turned things around, making life more difficult, I would think, for Ron Hextall. What does he do at the trade deadline? But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers as they approach free agency, which means some guys will be leaving, others will be coming. We'll talk about it with our panel tonight. We have Mark Kaboly, who does an outstanding job with the Steelers on The Athletic. Below him, it's Chris Mueller from 93.7 The Fan, co-host of the PM team. And to his right, that would be Will Graves, outstanding journalist with the Associated Press. So, Mark, let's start with you on this one. I want to start with Juju Smith-Schuster because he put out a tweet today essentially saying goodbye. All along he said, I want to be a Steeler for life, I want to be a Steeler for life, but his actions have spoken totally differently. So he leaves, which is what we all expect. How will you remember Juju Smith-Schuster's time in Pittsburgh?
Well, unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to view him as his actions over the past, year or two. And I don't want to be that grumpy old man yelling at the clouds or anything. But when I think of Juju 10 years from now, I'm probably going to think about the bike. I'm probably going to think about TikTok. And I'm probably going to think about his social media presence with, at least in the realm of with the 4 years he's was with the Steelers, rather than the other stuff that he's been so good at. And the 90-some catches, the 3 out of the 4 years, he's been extremely good. He's one of the tougher receivers that's ever come across, in Pittsburgh. I mean, he ranks up there with Hines Ward right away. But I think some of the stuff, even now late, where everybody who has 2 brain cells in their head knows there's no chance of him coming back, but he's still playing sort of, hey, I want to come back. There's still a chance. There's never been any chance whatsoever. So unfortunately, I think that type of stuff will eventually overshadow the stuff he did on the field, which I thought was pretty good over the past, 3 of the 4 years he was here.
Well, since I only really use Twitter and not much on Snapface, InstaChat, or whatever TikTok book that the kids are using these days, I'll choose to remember him by, a fumble against New Orleans that very possibly cost them a playoff spot, a fumble against the Baltimore Ravens the following year that cost them what probably was going to be a signature win that season. I'll remember him for being a very good Robin to Antonio Brown's Batman, and I'll remember him, I think, this year for playing real blood and guts football and playing like a real tough guy at wide receiver, and I mean that in the nicest, most sincere way. As far as the social media stuff about I want to come back, I want to play my whole career here, I'm cynical enough to assume he's just throwing posts like that out there to make sure that his numbers stay high so that he's getting a lot of impressions. He knows he's not coming back here. The guy is nothing if not a savvy businessman. He put himself in, a Miami Dolphins uniform on a video game? All right, man, 4 productive years. See you later.
I mean, look, this is the guy that came into the Pittsburgh as the youngest receiver, youngest player in the league. There was an infectiousness about him. I mean, I think the first time I noticed was he did a video, a TikTok with him in his apartment down on the South Side running to the Ritas in his SpongeBob SquarePants slippers. And my kid was 6 or 7 at the time. And he was like, what's that guy? And so, I mean, there's an infectiousness about him. I think it has sort of evolved into something that's a little more, wired, a little more cagey, a little more specific, like he's trying to build his brand. But look, I think he's a pretty good receiver. I don't think he's going to be like Mike Wallace. I think he's going to be pretty good here, and then he's going to go elsewhere, and he's just not going to be as productive. I think he's going to fall in the lines of Mike Wallace, Le'Veon Bell, guys that went elsewhere and just could not quite capture what they had in Pittsburgh.
All right, Mark, I want to ask you about, we'll save the draft for another day because we have plenty of time before that draft. I want to talk about free agency and what the Steelers may target. I know they don't have a lot of money, but what about their own free agents? Which of those guys do you think, it won't be a big number, but which should be retained or will be retained?
Well, I think number one is obvious. I mean, I think Zach Banner's a slam dunk here, and he's going to be your starting right tackle come next year. Other than that, there's not a ton here. I was probably pushing, wondering if Matt Filer was going to be a guy that they would be welcoming back. But at this point, you don't need him. I mean, you got B.J. Finney. I know he had struggles last year, but he is a cheaper version of what Matt Filer's going to be. So I'm throwing him out the door right now. Other than that, I don't think they're going to afford Cam Sutton, which I think is very unfortunate. I think he could be Steven Nelson-like player in this league when he goes somewhere else, not very good, or decent at Kansas City, then turns into a pretty good player somewhere else. I think Hilton's going to break the bank somewhere. I don't see many other options, to be honest with you. I think you're looking at Banner. Maybe they bring back Jordan Berry, but who really cares? I mean, maybe Jordan Dangerfield. I think that's the way they have to go right now. I mean, they're not going to bring back. I mean, they brought back 3 of their exclusive rights guys, which is cheap, and they had to do. But even though they have 19 guys of free agency, I can see maybe 2, maybe 3 max coming back, and that might not be a bad thing.
I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty good defense, and let's remember that they why don't they just backload all these contracts? I mean, Boom and I are in a text thread, and he pointed out, and I'm going to give him credit, so please record this. He said, Will, why don't they bring Ben back? Why not? They've got 17 players under contract for 2022. 17. So, and the cap is going to go up exponentially. So why don't you go to Cam Sutton? Why don't you go to Hilton and say, guys, like, look, we can only give you, $1.2 million this year. The guarantee is not going to be big, but it's going to, a mushrooming number down the road. Maybe, why can't they go at them with that? This is still a very good defense. Those guys have earned their money, but they're not going to go anywhere else, I think, and have maybe the success they could have in this system with these players around them.
Well, hold on again, Mark. Having heard you say all that, when's the Super Bowl again? I'm planning where I'm going to be for the parade route now that they've kept maybe Jordan Berry and maybe Jordan Dangerfield will stay for this team. As to what Will said, why would Cam Sutton or Mike Hilton trust the Steelers' word in that situation? Absolutely not. Every one of these guys should get every dime that they can right now, guaranteed up front. $1 or $2 million, but hey, the money will, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today stuff. Get out of here. The Steelers are right up against it. They are very much in the closest thing to cap hell you can be in without being like non-compliant at this point somehow. They're in deep trouble. They're not going to bring back anybody of consequence of their own guys, and they're certainly not going to go out and get somebody that's going to step in and start a la like a Ryan Clark from, 15 years ago.
All right, we have a lot more to get into. The Steelers are going to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about the run game. We know James Conner likely won't be back, so who takes his place? Is it a draft pick, or there are a lot of guys on the open market? We'll talk about that and a new overtime rule that is being thrown out there by the Baltimore Ravens. We'll get into that and more when we come back. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown right here on KDKA-TV. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.